Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea, very quickly here today. What a wonderful set. A lot of fun with the Yankees-Red Sox, Yankee Stadium tonight. Lisa Mateo, thank you so much for that. Anne-Marie Horton, a cameo appearance. She is Surveillance Yankees correspondent. But also we looked at the moment of international relations buttressed into this strange stock market and modern technology. Michael Darda with us with Roth Capital. Michael Darda on the moment at hand and a constructive nominal G that would be 4 to 5% and not overheated.
Nominal wages and real wages are growing, so that's consistent with the real economy expanding. Inflation's still above the Fed's target, but I think, in an environment where inflation is trending at around 3, that can still be a very strong environment for corporate profits if the economy is, staying out of recession. And that's, I think that is likely with the Fed easing monetary policy. They've already taken rates down 125 basis points. And with inflation expectations moving up 40 to 60 basis points over that period, real rates have fallen about 200 basis points. So the Fed has definitely removed quite a bit of restraint from its policy. So the top line should hang in there. I do think, I do worry about the Fed getting back to 2% inflation on a reasonable timeline. If we're still stuck at 3% inflation over the course of the next 2 years, and that's part of the Fed's forecasts, boy, that's a long overshoot, 7 years. So I worry a little bit that bleeds into credibility. The administration really wants the Fed to ease because they want lower market interest rates, but you're not going to get lower market interest rates if inflation expectations continue moving up. So the Fed needs to stay credible here. I think 4 to 5% nominal, that's the sweet spot. You'll have corporate pricing power, inflation won't be too high, long rates will be at reasonable levels.
Michael Darda, nominal GDP, I can't tell you how important I think that is. Through all the years, I've really, real GDP has huge value, don't get me wrong, but the idea of combining the real GDP growth and then overlaying it with inflation to give you the animal spirit of the system is, I think, just a critical and useful analysis, particularly folded over into revenues and then what it means for the stock market and American corporations as well. A wonderful conversation with Ian Bremmer of Eurasia Group today. Too many themes to speak of, but one of them was the ending of U.S. programs to Africa.
The United States is the most powerful country in the world. It's the strongest economy by far. And the U.S. has historically been doing the most in terms of providing aid to other countries and to the people in those countries that need it, whether they're suffering from malaria, whether they're vulnerable to HIV/AIDS, whether they're starving, whether they're facing forced migration. The U.S. has done that directly. It's also led the charge in doing that indirectly through American support for the United Nations and the organizations that it stands up, like the World Food Program, for example. The United States has decided that those things should no longer be priorities, that America first means that these other countries should have to make their own way. They should have to pay for themselves. Now, the Chinese see this as a great opportunity in the same way that when the Americans cut back on visas, the Chinese immediately say, we're going to make it easier for talented people to come. They won't be as attractive in terms of their aid. But if they are the lead power, I mean, they made up their dues, many of which were in arrears at the UN. The Americans aren't paying. The Chinese said, okay, we'll pay some of ours now so that they can put forward that they're the ones that are more accountable. Look, if you think that only American hard power matters, and maybe in the short term that's true, then and you don't care very much about non-Americans and don't think that they are as deserving or that we should take care of any of them, we don't have accountability, then it doesn't matter. But that's never been my view, and I think it's a mistake long term.
Ian Bremmer of Eurasia Group. Can't say enough about his note. Look for that from Eurasia Group. On podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify, and YouTube podcasts, it's Single Best Idea.